Content warning, y'all. We have lots of fun making this podcast, but remember, we watch a lot of R-rated films, use language that reflects that, and joke about heavy topics to create levity around these themes. If that doesn't feel safe or could be triggering, please take care of yourself. We want you to have fun listening too. This also means we might not be suitable for children. Oh yeah, and we spoil the end of all the movies we pod about. Thanks for listening.
Okay, hey, hello. Welcome. Thanks for meeting us in the lobby.
Before we go up.
Yeah. I got a wild hair, and I want to try this thing where before we watch the film in question, just real quickly talk about our expectations, sort of, or what we think.
It's interesting because I don't have any expectations, but I'm excited because of who's in it.
Yes. I'm excited.
That's strange. I'm like, well, I love Lily Taylor. I love Lily Taylor.
Yeah.
I can't say her name, clearly, but I love her. And so anything she does, I'm going to love.
This is what really put her on the map for me.
Interesting.
This is where it definitely, I knew who she was after this. I'd probably seen her. Household Saints is another one I really want to see.
Oh, that one's weird.
I know I've seen it, and I remember.
Household Saints is the one where Vincent D'Onofrio plays her papa.
Yeah, and her mom is Tracy Ullman.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But it's interesting because it happened not super long after Mystic Pizza, where Vincent D'Onofrio played her Lava.
Oh, that's right. Good call. Anyway.
Yes.
So I'm very excited. I remember her just slaying it. Of
course.
It's a.
I have never seen this. To be clear, you have. I have not.
I have. I haven't not seen it. I don't think since probably the early aughts. I can't actually remember if I've seen it more than once. I saw it originally probably when it was fairly new. I saw it. I was still living in Southern California. Anyway, so I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
I don't remember anything about it really. Although
don't tell me.
I'm not. Fuck you. I don't remember who plays Andy Warhol.
I think I saw who plays Andy Warhol, and that's why
the only thing I really remember is that she's like a survival sex worker at some point, and someone says, "Is there a place we can go?" And she says, "Yes, I know of a vestibule." That's all I really remember.
Nice.
Okay. We'll see you after the show.
See ya. Before we get started.
Too late.
Don't forget to hit us up on Patreon and become a patron because we need that sweet, sweet $1 a month. Patreon.
Juice.
Patreon.com/ZNKPod. And you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at ZNKPod, baby.
And Letterboxd.
Oh, yeah, Letterboxd. Yeah, we're on that. We got to figure out what that entails. But, yeah. I keep forgetting that. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, hit us up if you got any suggestions. LOL.
I'm surprised we don't get more suggestions, but the suggestions that we get are 90% of the time people being like, you should review this, and it's something from 4 years ago. And I'm
really?
No, that's
not my experience, but
people love to say just shit I know that this is my rule, but I feel like this podcast started mainly for me out of nostalgia and a want to both revisit movies that meant a lot to me as a kid and watch movies that I never was able to watch as a kid. So I want to stick with the 80s and 90s. I really want to stick with that. And also, I think that narrows stuff down because I think if we review
it's
just anything,
good to have a constraint, a premise.
Yes. Because I feel like if we were...
So what, that 20 years of film?
Right.
Turns out there's plenty.
Exactly. Like, I'm often overwhelmed at how much
No.
there is. And the only thing that I would say is negative about this podcast in regards to watching movies is so much of the time I'll be like, oh, I really want to watch this. And then you'll be like, yeah, but I want to do that for the pod. And I'm like,
oh, I know, yeah. Well, not.
I mean, it goes
also,
both ways. I'm not saying like, I'm just saying like, you know,
Right.
if one of us wants to watch something, the other one's like, aren't we going to do that for the pod? And we're like,
Also, that we started this after a year of watching movies together
Yeah.
with basically the same intention.
correct. Yeah.
So there's a bunch of shit we've already watched together
Yeah.
somewhat recently.
Yeah. That we need to rewatch.
Potentially. But I mean, like,
Yeah.
So
There's
many
so
things
much. Yeah. There's so much
we
to pick
watched.
from. Yeah. But I feel like people often don't get the memo with.
that's fair. It's somewhat subtle, I guess. Not at this point, but people don't read or anything. So,
Y'all suck is what we're saying. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah.
I also like when people are like, "Oh, I'll listen to this at work," and I'm like, "Don't
Out
don't
loud.
do it without headphones on.
Yeah.
Don't just openly listen to it at work."
NSFW, bruh.
Although one of our friends, Randall, I think he listens to it at work.
Oh, nice.
Shout out, but I mean headphones for sure.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, given the things that he posts that he titles work and is music, I assume that.
Yeah.
some
Man, I
headphones are
love
involved.
like if I have a desk job and you can have and there's like headphones are allowed, I'm fine, man. That's fine. As long as I can just like not pay attention, then I'm fine doing stupid menial desk work. I don't care. You want me to type up 57 emails that say the same shit?
I do.
Okay. Yeah. I can listen to music while I do it. Okay.
Does copy paste not exist in this scenario?
Well, you have to type it to other people. Like, you can copy paste the email, but you always have to, even if you copy paste an email, 99% of the time you have to still adjust something in the email. It's
Sure.
very rarely that you literally copy paste every single thing.
Tell that to the DNC.
I would love to if they accepted any sort of criticism.
LOL.
So we started this already last night, talking about
The
expectations.
new pre-show.
So how did your expectations get meted or faulted?
Let's see.
Quicker. We need quick
definitely still like just fucking all Lily Taylor.
I know. I was just. I feel like I've
love
never.
how much
I've-
of this movie is her.
I was gonna say. I feel like I've never really seen a movie that focused so much on Lily Taylor.
Exactly.
So it's like, yes, absolutely, that was very exciting. And I was just like watching her fucking performance.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I've never seen her be able to put so much
Right.
into a role before.
Right.
Just time and focus is
Right.
more what I mean. Like, time allotted and focus given to the character. And I was just like, oh
Yeah.
my God, I love it so much. She did
And this
so
is
good.
fucking what, 25 years ago? More?
96.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever. Whatever math
Whatever, man. Yeah, like 26
You all
years
need
ago.
to get on it.
Yeah. I know, yeah.
As a film, it's not perfect,
fine,
but and I feel a little mixed about what is it trying to say.
Yeah. I think I read it more as because it was supposed to be. I told you this last night. It was supposed to be a documentary,
Right, which I had never
Right.
did not know.
right? But there wasn't enough footage, and they couldn't find anyone to talk about Valerie
Solanas.
Solanas. And I kept wanting to say Solaris
Mm-hmm.
for obvious reasons.
Obvious.
Because I'm more familiar with the word Solaris, and I'm terrible with names, so that's why it's obvious. Anyway, yeah, there just wasn't anyone that they could find who like knew anything. Like,
Right.
I'm pretty sure that when they wanted to, like, a lot of the people involved in this, like Andy Warhol had died,
Candy.
Candy had died,
I don't know if Stevie's
yeah,
supposed
who knows
to be
about Stevie? So,
real person.
several of these people that were like directly involved in this whole thing had died,
Mhm.
and people weren't able to or willing to speak about it, and then there was like so little footage, so they had nothing basically to make a documentary out of it, which I think is good. I'm glad that they were like, okay, let's not just like try to let's not make a documentary despite having no evidence of this app. You know what I mean? Like we'll just talk about it ourselves. Like, you know.
Yeah,
so
just do like a fucking...
Right. So they wrote this movie. So I took it more as like them trying to, I mean, I could be wrong, obviously, but not so much saying something as just trying to make it as true to what it is, what happened as they could, just trying to tell the story. And so I think that's why at times it could feel like, are you on her side? Are you not on her side? Because you're not, I don't think you're supposed to be one or the other. I think you're just supposed to be seeing what happened.
Yeah.
So I feel like I kind of give it points for that.
Yeah.
You know, because it doesn't actually feel biased. Because it doesn't feel like it's telling you to have so much empathy and feel so sorry for her, because she's a very unlikable character. But it's also not telling you to hate her. It's making it very clear that something was wrong. You know, but it wasn't saying something's wrong with her, something, you know, it's showing you what brought her to the point of this action, but it's not telling you that she's completely absolved of any wrongdoing. And it's also not telling you that you need to hate her. So I was like, I was really kind of impressed with that sort of like, especially like for what it is. Like, it's such a bare bones movie.
Right.
You know? I think my only real, not complaint, the only thing that I would say I didn't care about Ernie is there was so much, like, there's that one, like, party scene that just goes on
far too long. Far too long.
I know, guess
and
what?
Then it goes away and comes back.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, Andy Warhol's having a party? Oh, okay. Thanks. You know, it'd be one thing if they did a lot of focus on Valerie and, you know, and they did some focus on her, but there was so much that was just like people doing drugs.
I know, and it's like
I get it. Yeah. He was eccentric too.
Well, but it's like
he liked eccentric things.
Like if it had been made in the 60s, okay, you know, like at the time, that would have been different. Because I've seen some film, you know, like...
Absolutely, for sure, yes.
But if you're just documenting the scene around the factory, who cares? And I'm sure... Just watch Andy Warhol's films. Right. You know, if you want to... I don't know. Yeah, so that was definitely got a little tedious.
I'm going to say this.
Slowed it down.
I'm going to say this. I don't know how to say it. I feel like my ex was obsessed with Andy Warhol.
Natch.
And I've never cared that much for his work. His Polaroids are kind of cool, but that's just because I like how Polaroids look.
Right.
And I'm all about, you know, trans representation, you know? And like, I think it's cool that he worked with trans people.
Right.
But was he doing the weird fetishizing shit? You know.
Well, I will say that, like, that is the thing I appreciated on this watch through the movie, where he's just like, you know, he comes across as his aloofness is a strategy,
right? Yeah,
you know, and I don't know. Yeah,
I like Jared Harris. I think that's who it is that
he was great.
I like him as an actor because he's in so much shit. He's been in so much shit. I've watched him since I was a kid. Like, he's been in so many things. I've watched him my whole life. And I just think that he's able to give a performance and disappear into the role. He's like such a great
I would not
character.
have recognized it was him.
And that's what I was excited about. I was like, that dude. That's why I was like, I didn't want to say this because I was like, I was afraid I misremembered or that I got it wrong. I was like, oh my God, like Jared Harris is playing fucking right, Jared Harris. That's his name, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, he's playing Warhol. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I cannot wait to see what he does with it. And it was, oh my God, the part where he's like, Valerie, look, everyone, Valerie's back.
Hey, look, everybody, Valerie's back.
What have you been up to, Valerie? Still writing dirty books?
Oh, doesn't she look beautiful? She's wearing makeup.
Yeah, she looks fabulous.
Also, like, please put in the clip from the Venture Brothers episode.
And that's the problem with men, Patty. The Y gene is just an incomplete X chromosome, dig? A man is an incomplete female, just a walking abortion.
Gosh, I hope Ted lets me take a shower soon.
Oh, God. I get that now.
Good.
That's very clearly a reference to, oh, my God. Also, I was like, oh, I feel like I got a lot of Venture Brothers stuff from this movie. And I was like, shit, oh, my God.
Yeah.
So that's cool. That was cool.
I swear the scene where they're asking what's his name to take his pants off or whatever is this. Okay, ask him to do it again. I swear that's got to be the scene they're quoting.
I think that whole party scene is mostly...
That episode?
Yes. Because the whole place is like done up in like a singular color and they have the silver balloons and they have all this shit. So, yeah.
Well, it's also got the thing that's in the doors weird.
Yeah, but
she gave me this phone. She said I could call God on it. Do you want to talk to God?
It's on the fucking watch, isn't it? It's on the watch.
Oh, maybe, yeah. It's the communicator watch. It's so fun to do, too, as an impersonation.
God. Yeah, it's really, I don't know. Yeah, I think it was interesting to see it. I don't know. I was watching it because, like, oh, man, the fucking scum shit was so funny. Society for Cutting Up Men. Oh, my God. I know that I've heard that before. I had to have. But I don't know. Hearing it, especially in the context of this movie, was so fucking funny. God, Lily Taylor, she just did amazing with this. I just really wish.
I do like how the movie balanced, a dramatic scene, meaning like drama in the sense of we're acting versus her text.
Yeah.
And even the last scene with Candy where she's Stephen Dorff in the mirror.
Yeah.
But it's clearly a letter that Candy wrote or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like that.
I did too. I actually, I was talking about this with you, I think yesterday. Or maybe today. I don't know. I was when I was saying how annoying it is whenever people now will be like, I shouldn't have played this trans character 35 years ago when the opportunity wasn't available for anyone else. And, it was, you're just like, I get it,
For anyone else.
Yeah. You're retroactively being woke or whatever.
Yeah.
I find that really, I just find it placating. The thing. It's like, yeah, okay, great, yeah.
Performative.
Yeah, it's performative, and it's also like, okay, but your performance paved the way so that trans actors could play that role. So I'm not saying that, yes, you know what I mean? That thing of right, but we weren't there yet. Should we have been there? Yeah, but that's not where we were. We're there now. And so it should be happening now, and it's not. And that's what the problem is. There was a lot of times a lack of representation back then because it wasn't always safe to be in the public eye and be openly
as
trans.
A trans person, yeah.
Right. So it wasn't as safe. So you were helping to pave the way for that to change. Not saying.
Yeah, I see the argument both ways.
Oh, no, for sure. I'm saying, I think that's why I think retroactively being in 1993, this character should have been played by a trans person. Yeah, it should have. Yeah, but what now it should have. It just shut up. It now is when it needs to happen. You don't need
I've
to
not encountered people doing that. So.
Oh man, I'm not saying everyone's doing it. It's just I don't care.
Jeffrey Tambor.
Anyway, my point being, I feel like Stephen Dorff did a good performance as Candy.
Yeah.
And I feel I
don't have any reference point for Candy Darling, but
well, what I'm saying is it wasn't.
It seemed respectful.
It was respectful, but it also they did nothing to. They did show Stephen Dorff. They showed Candy, almost naked, topless or whatever.
Right.
But they weren't doing the thing where like, yeah, they weren't doing the thing where the way that they introduced it was interesting to me because the way that they introduced the character was almost as if you wouldn't know they were trans had they not been introduced the way that because she says something like, "This is Jeffrey" or something like that. Jimmy, yeah, and she's like, "It's Candy, darling," and so I feel like that's done so that you know that she's trans because they don't show her any other way. Like, they don't show her as, like, getting dressed. They don't show her as, like, oh, you know, and that way you know that, you know, because I think in a sense, and, you know, them introducing her that way, I mean, granted, yes, I know that they're dead naming her. I get that. But what I mean is, like, for the 90s, you know, for 1996, that being the introduction, being like, it was more so, oh, this is me coming out and telling you what my new name is, as opposed to people calling. And no one called her the wrong name after that. You know, so it was literally done to like to be like I am a trans person, and that was the declaration of that. And then from then on, she was just Candy, and that was it. And it was like there wasn't a lot. It was literally done to let you know that like trans people existed in Andy Warhol's world. Right. And that's why Candy was able to get Valerie into that world. But like that's the only reason that character was trans, was because they needed to show that there were trans people there. They didn't exploit that in any way. Like they didn't make it like super weird. They weren't like showing her in really fucked up positions or and I mean positions like, you know, like, yeah, I don't know, the way that they did it, I was like, wow, they're really like, they're just showing her. And I really liked the sort of like coexistence and also like almost opposition of her with Valerie, like Candy and Valerie, of their like, not like nowadays it would not be safe for them to exist in the same room together. I mean,
because Valerie Solanas is a TERF.
Yeah, very clearly a TERF. Because I think that was like, I was really interested in because I don't think I would have picked that, I wouldn't have picked that up. But I could see how in this fucking 60s, you know, the lingo and the things like that might not be around to really have like a proper discussion around it. But it wasn't until like the one kid or someone asks Valerie, like, I don't know, like about like men not existing.
Do you want to kill all men?
Yeah.
Or whatever?
And they ask her about Candy. Right. And she was like, they were like, what about Candy? Yeah, they're like, what about drag queens? Like,
do you want to kill all the men in the world?
No. I don't think that would be necessary.
What about drag queens?
What about drag queens?
I mean, they want to be women, so...
What, you mean if you got a sex change, would that mean you're okay? No, because you're still a man. That's not what makes a woman a woman. Hormones. There's more to it than that. And look at Candy, darling. Here you have a perfect victim of male oppression. Piffo.
And then she points to Candy and she says, that's a result of male oppression?
Yeah.
Or something like that, which is, I was like, whoa, wow. And I was like, I wasn't like, oh yeah, this is really cool. But I was like, wow, that's really wild that was, you know, like the idea of femininity is being presented as male oppression. And that's, I was like, that's so wild to me. Yeah, just like that was like really fascinating because I was like, this is very clearly like there's so much internalized stuff happening for Valerie. There's so many, and I think it's like obviously coexisting with some sort of, you know, mental disorder.
Sure.
So it was, you know, just like really interesting.
I mean, like, I guess they do a decent balance. I mean, early on in the film, we learned that, you know, she's a survivor of abuse from a young age.
Yeah.
But then also was a university student, a student of psychology in the 50s.
Yeah.
Which by itself seems pretty amazing. And
that whole montage was like so funny and so
Which one?
she was like, it's just showing her like in class, like where they're just like doing kind of like rapid fire of like all of her schooling and shit like that. And it's like, they're like, oh, someone wrote a letter about whether corsage is, and she's like, oh, I'll take care of that. She's like, fuck you. And then like her like trying to flirt with that girl.
Yeah.
Flirt, I don't know.
Sure.
You know, she's trying to play footsie, and then she's like, you were leading me on, you know, and she's like, oh my God, what are you talking about? And like all this shit, you know, where it's just like this whole thing of her just like being sort of really, really, really outrageous while going to college and going through college. And some of that might have been, you know, like exaggerated for film or whatever, but who knows, you know, because it's so it's kind of fascinating that like she was able to put herself, you know, through college
and supported herself.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
with sex work.
Well, yeah. But well, she was able to put herself through college, and then she graduated college, and she did all this shit, and then she just, you know, it was fascinating to me because I'm like, this is like such a great example. I think it's a really interesting because like obviously Valerie is not, you know, or was not someone that, you know, had the best of belief systems, but it's like a perfect example of like the way that people misunderstand homelessness.
Oh,
and how it affects people and like what causes it. You know, like she was literally someone that had, you know, she was a fucking psychology major in the fucking 50s. And she was homeless because she couldn't work.
Right.
You know? And it's just like the way that people misunderstand. It was really fascinating. I think I was expecting from the movie, like I didn't have much expectations in regards to like what I would see, because I honestly I'm not a super huge fan of Andy Warhol, so I don't you know, don't really know much about the stuff that he does or whatever, because I don't fucking care. But he but I think I was under the impression that she was more involved with his work, especially than she actually was, or than was what was portrayed in the movie. That was so hard to say. I got stuck in the middle of it. I was like, then what? Who? Yeah. It was. Sorry, I feel like I've talked a lot, and it's your birthday month, so.
Okay, we're gonna take a break real quick. Be right back.
It's your birthday month, birthday movie, so.
Yeah, as far as expectations, you know, it's almost like every other thing where I'm like, oh yeah.
Girl, calm down.
I didn't like it in as much as I did I remember in this way, but appreciated new things about it.
Yeah.
Like, except for the party that drags on for too long. It's a solid film, I feel like.
For sure.
And, you know, we discussed, like, how they treat this real-life subject matters.
Yeah.
And, it paints her as a very fascinating human being. Like,
right, correct.
Clearly she's abusive at times.
Yeah, for sure.
In the film, at least, she attacks Candy and Jeremiah at one point. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, and now, you know, like, I didn't know any of the actors first time I watched it.
Yeah.
So that's directed by Mary Harron, who is obviously a feminist because she directed American Psycho. She also did that biopic about Betty Page.
Oh, okay. That was interesting.
Which I haven't seen.
That was an interesting one.
So yeah, I mixed feelings about her, but I like how this movie looks.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it'd do some interesting things. I didn't remember until after it was over that I had the soundtrack
Yeah.
on CD.
Yeah, you were like, oh, this song and this song. And I was like, what? And then you're like, oh, I actually have the soundtrack.
Yeah.
That's why all these songs are so familiar.
It was on heavy rotation
I bet.
back in the day, along with of soundtracks from that era when I was with a previous partner.
Oh. You've had other partners?
Just this one. And the first wife. She it was always soundtracks.
Yeah.
And, late 90s, it was the era of, that was a particular era of soundtracks.
For sure.
It was like this one. It was, I believe, A Life Less Ordinary.
Okay.
I just remember a lot of it, there was a lot of 90s acts covering 60s songs.
Okay.
Rushmore.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The Kids soundtrack, unfortunately,
Oh my God.
was around.
Girl.
Yeah, and neither of us had seen the film, but we had the soundtrack. I mean, that's all just.
The soundtracks I had growing up and that I was obsessed with, The Last of the Mohicans. It was like the score. Huh?
Okay.
What did you say?
I said, is that what we're doing now?
And then I obsessed with the Romeo and Juliet. Baz Luhrmann.
Who's on that?
Who's in this on the soundtrack?
Yeah.
Oh, it's got there's 2 volumes. There's volume 1 and then
I don't
volume 2.
remember being that many songs.
Oh, there's so many songs. It's got Butthole Surfers, Radiohead. It's got other stuff on it. It's got this one song that I really like, and then some more things.
Word.
I can't remember. I just remember. Yeah,
Surfing. You know what that means?
But I don't know what does it mean.
Tubing.
Tubing?
Because your butthole surfing on the water.
Oh my God. You're so.
I didn't make it up.
I didn't say you made it up. I said, oh my God, you're so
Informed.
yeah, well informed. Yeah, I think something that I was kind of surprised about, I don't know, I was like watching it and it was like, it was the 60s and I was like, yeah, now male hating now feels nonsensical and it feels like it's tied into a lot of transphobia, which obviously it was then too. But I was like, it makes sense for it to happen then because there was so much oppression.
Oh yeah.
Still happen. I mean, obviously oppression still happens now. I'm not saying, but
Right.
It was so present and a lot of these people from, if you're in your 20s or 30s in the 60s, it means you were around in the 30s, 40s and 50s or whatever,
Right.
And seeing really, really, really awful, oppressive behavior, especially from men. And you're watching these things and this movement of liberation had just started to pick up. So I understand. I was like, yeah, it makes sense that people would be like, yeah, fuck men. I hate men. Men are the worst. Men,
Absolutely.
Because all of these things were happening then. I think this is a great example, though, of where a lack of intersectionality only harms you.
Yeah.
What? Why did you laugh?
Because, yeah.
Yeah. And intersectionality, I want to be very clear. Intersectionality is specifically referencing Black trans women. It was coined in order to be, and I'm not saying it's only references that, but people will use it to mean queer and, but
White.
it's specifically meant to talk about race.
Yeah.
In the debate of
intersection. I thought the specificity of it was Black women.
Yes.
And already that being an intersection of
Yeah.
more than one.
Correct.
Kind
Yeah,
of
I think, but I
oppression.
think it's like, I could be wrong, but I think it was like coined to talk about like, yes, black women, but like the like black trans, like it's specific. I think like black trans women are like the pinnacle of it. Like it's not just
Sure.
black trans women, but like it's like black women.
They check all the boxes.
Right. Yeah. They check all the boxes.
Black trans lesbians.
So yeah, I just think, it's one of those things where like
Yeah, there are no black people in this movie.
there aren't, yeah, and which is very strange to me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think not having there's only white people. Well, maybe not only white people. There might be like
It's hard to, it's hard to say.
yeah. But mostly only.
What's his name is French?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, he is French. Yeah, it's wild. This movie was wild. I did not know anything about any of it. I didn't know he was shot. I didn't know. Because like I said, Andy Warhol's not in my wheelhouse of interests. I knew that he died, but I didn't know he died from gallbladder surgery.
I know that either. I honestly thought it was complications from being shot.
Interesting. Yeah.
10 years later.
I mean, it might be related because it was like a heart something.
I also didn't know that she shot him more than once. I thought it was like he took one bullet. Before she was subdued or whatever happened. But
oh, interesting.
Also, I read. I mean, according to Wikipedia, it happened at the factory. In the movie, they left the factory and moved to it's like more like an office.
Yeah. Interesting. Huh.
Yeah, I appreciate it. The movie doesn't lionize Warhol in any way or like
what do you mean?
Put him on a pedestal or make him and
yeah,
good because clearly the point is that Valerie Solanas just happened to know people in common and was trying to get to him as a means to an end,
right?
Which was to make a living,
right.
Get her writing out,
right.
P.S. Let's please, if we can find the script to up your ass or whatever, let's.
Oh my
stage
god!
it.
I know. Oh my god! This turd is yellow or whatever. Oh my god!
So you are serving them a turd?
Oh, you're impossible. I can assure you, I have no intention whatsoever of serving my guest a turd. The turd is for me.
Everybody knows that men have much more respect for women who are good at lapping up shit.
Say, would you like to join us for dinner?
Cut!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Great! I love a fucking. That's one of my favorite genres. Is the literalization of a saying, of an idiom or something.
Yeah. Oh man.
One of my favorite acts back in Olympia was Tracy and the Plastics, which was one person, Wynn Greenwood, where she would perform in front of projections that she had made of her bandmates, which were also played by her, Cola and Nico, I think. But one of my favorite bits was she had a piece of wood that she was dunking in one of the Nico or somebody dunking in a bucket. She's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I'm dyeing a log. We can't until we can dye a log. We can't move forward."
Oh my god!
I fucking love it. I love that shit.
Tracy and the Plastics, is she the one? Did she do music?
Yeah, it's a band.
Yeah, and was she the one that did the Hydrate?
No, that's Leslie and the Lies.
Oh,
Leslie,
okay.
What's her name? I don't know.
Okay. Sorry, Tracy and the Plastics. That sounds so familiar.
I reference them a lot because they were a big deal to me, and I really enjoyed the music and what she did. She's still a working artist. Look her up, Wynn Greenwood. I think she participated in one of those Whitney biennials, whenever those happened, a few years ago and whatnot.
What?
The Whitney Biennial. Whitney is a museum in New York. And every 2 years they do a big do, and somebody gets to curate it. You know, like the people from Sonic Youth got to curate one, and it's one of those.
Oh.
It's.
Oh.
Anyway, Wynn Greenwood, look her up.
Okay. Will do.
Yeah, this was a big influence. I mean, the first wife went and ordered a copy of the Scum Manifesto. After
Oh,
this.
shit.
She had a special order. It wasn't like something you could find off the shelf, but you could still get it in 1997 or whenever we watched this. 98?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Still in Pasadena.
Wow.
So this is how I'm so well informed. Like radical, like female separatist feminism is not like not a surprising. I like even when I watched this, I was like, no, I get it. Like
it reminded me of
like by this point in my life, whether it had existed as a movement or not, any oppressed identity within the U.S., I'm like, I totally get it. If you want to make your own state, you know what I mean? Like,
well, I can't think of what it's called, but it reminded me, or it made me think of that one movie about the future with women.
Born in Flames?
Yes, Born in Flames.
Another big influence.
Yes.
That I watched around the same time.
Yeah. It really reminded me of that. I was like, oh, shit.
This is a better movie, I feel like.
Well, yeah, it's a better movie. But
too.
it's also a different,
Yeah, it's very different. Yeah. I want to rewatch that too. It's been a while.
I watched that 7 or 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
One of my micro cinema experiences. And that was really interesting. It was really interesting, especially since like at the end, don't they like blow up the Twin Towers or something, or they do something? Yeah. So that was wild to see that sort of thing. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of this stuff is really interesting to me to see. Like it's wild because for me personally, when I see this stuff, I think you talk about something similar. When I see this stuff happening in the past, I think it's cool. But when I'm like, if it's still happening now, that's a problem.
Like what?
So like radical, like rad femmes in the 60s, that makes so much sense.
Oh, yeah.
In that time. Rad femmes doing the same shit now is stupid because it's like, why? Stop. Like it shouldn't, like your movement, if your movement has not evolved at all in decades.
Right.
Stop. Fucking stop.
If for no other reason than clearly it's not been effective.
Correct.
I mean, just from a strategic standpoint.
Yeah, no, for sure,
regardless of philosophy, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. And like, it's so, like I was saying, like, I understand why in the 60s someone would be like, fucking kill all men. No, I get it. Yeah. And why someone
probably would be a better world.
Right. And why the confusion over like, trans women and men, that confusion, because that was something that was like, not saying it had never happened before. I'm not saying that. And I'm not excusing any sort of like transphobia. I'm saying I understand someone not understanding it back then.
Oh, yeah.
Like being confused by it. But like that shit's still happening now when there is literal like evidence that this has been going on for 50 fucking years at least. I mean like in like video evidence is what I mean. Like I'm not saying Right. Like you can go back to when this person was like 10 years old and be like, this was happening when you were a child. Right. Stop acting like this is brand new.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Right.
You know what I mean? 50 years ago, when you acted like the world was without this shit, it wasn't. Yeah. Stop.
Yeah.
And like your viewpoint staying the same, it's so fucking bonkers to me. Like it's so wild to me. And who? Like, is it from the movie or? Oh, okay.
I'm thinking of a real life person. She was interviewed in what? I think The Lady in the Dell is when she was shown. She's a trans woman. She's been a trans woman since the 70s. And she was part of a feminist, a radfem circle in the Bay Area.
Right.
She was
Yeah.
kicked out because she was trans.
Right, because she was a trans woman. Yeah.
I wish I remember her fucking name. Her story is wild and sad and
Yeah. I follow this. I've sent you their stuff. I follow this amazingly gorgeous trans woman on TikTok who talks about like coming out as trans as a teenager in the 70s.
Oh.
And
yeah.
And it's one of those things where like I understand your confusion 60 years ago, 50 years ago, and being like, this is new to me. This is a new concept because I'm young and I haven't seen visual represent. Because, like, yes, these things existed, but it wasn't in the mainstream media. It wasn't something that you were going to see all of the time. It wasn't something like media was a different thing back then. So it wasn't something that people were necessarily going to be introduced to without seeking it out.
Correct.
So I understand being like, I've never seen this before. Okay, yeah, makes sense. Now, y'all, you have to be blindfolding yourself.
Well, look, I even get it if...
And I'm not saying being confused isn't okay. Like, confusion is fine. Being confused about something
Confusion is sex?
It's fine because it's what you do with that confusion. You know what I mean?
Right. And I don't know, man. Yeah.
And what I mean when I say confused, I mean, I don't understand what this means, is what I mean by confusion. Not being like, why are you like this?
Encountering a new concept.
Correct.
And
not immediately.
Not immediately, right.
Correct. Yes, that's what I mean by confusion.
Yeah.
Confusion's fine.
Right.
Confusion's fine. Having questions,
you've got to
that's
allow
fine.
space for that.
Yeah, that's fine. Having questions, not fully understanding, you know what? That's fine. It's totally fine. But it being repeatedly told to you what it is and having the same... Like, this was when I worked at a bank. I would tell people, because they'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, this is probably a stupid question. I would say, no, you can ask simple questions. You can ask these questions, you know, and I'm happy to answer them for you. When you're asking them every single day, and I'm giving you the same answers, and every single day you're asking me the same question over and over and over again, that's when it becomes a problem.
Yes,
when you're not retaining it, that's when it becomes a problem. And that's what it is. It's like you having questions, you having concerns, you not understanding something.
Right.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It being explained to you and you refusing to treat people like they're a human being, that's when you have a problem.
Correct.
You not accepting the explanation, that's when we have a problem. It being told to you, here is science to back it up, and you saying, I choose not to believe that, that's when we have a problem. You know? Like, but like, you know, the shit existing in the 60s, I get it. You know? That makes sense for the time. Radfems now just sound like they're trapped in the fucking past. And it's embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I truly, like, J.K. Rowling and, like, all the...
Yeah.
I'm like, it's... Okay, other than, like, dangerous rhetoric, put that aside. I'm like, I'm actually embarrassed for you. I would be embarrassed. I'd be like, just shut up. No, what? Yeah. What are you talking about? This isn't science. Shut up. You're making me look stupid because I'm standing next to you. Like, what the fuck? Like,
I mean, it would be embarrassing if they didn't have the platform they did, right? Or the...
I mean, it is embarrassing. I mean, like, I think the way that I see it is, like, I see it as, like, no different than people... Like, I grew up in really religious circumstances. Where
Which religion?
Christianity.
Oh.
Protestant, to be specific.
You weren't a Catholic?
No, I was not a Catholic. So there's a lot of like there was this, I thought it was cool. I don't think necessarily that it's not interesting conceptually, but there was this like thing where it was talking about like where you can trace like things that are talked about to things in the Bible. Like the Loch Ness Monster is actually talked about in the Bible.
Sure.
Right,
Leviathan.
correct. I love that as a mythological idea. Love it. Fucking love it. As that, it was presented, though, as hard science. Like, it was given the same within the Christian community. It was that kind of thing is how I feel when I hear, like, rad femmes talk about, like, biology.
Yeah.
As a reason for being transphobic. I'm like, oh, my God. Oh, my God. It gives me the same secondhand embarrassment. Like, I feel the same. I'm like, oh my God.
It's giving Christian fundamentalism.
Exactly. Truly, though, I'm like, oh God, I mean, I'm so embarrassed for you.
Because it is a fundamentalist view.
100%. But it's done in that way of like, I'm not going to admit that I'm ignorant. I'm going to twist facts to make my ignorance seem smart. And it's like, oh my God.
I don't want to go down this
no, for sure.
a different rabbit hole altogether, so I don't want to go out. But this is a couple of the things we brought up are the reasons that put me off of Marxism.
For sure.
But mostly Marxists.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's over 100 years old, and we're still talking about the same shit. That's not true of all Marxists.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
People, some of the more edgy people now include Mao.
What?
Some of the more, cutting-edge Marxists also are Maoists.
Oh, okay.
That's a little joke.
No, I didn't
It's
understand the words you said.
But Marxist also calls itself scientific.
Right.
Which, sure, in the late 1800s,
correct,
as scientific as anything else that was going on. But that's not something to rely on now. In the 21st century.
Right.
Let's use a little different language.
Right.
Okay,
the science of the past said that women's uterus shifted throughout the body.
Around.
Let's not say science doesn't, change its mind about some things once new facts are presented.
Right.
Would you recommend this movie?
I would, yeah. If nothing
sure.
else, like, you've probably never heard of Valerie Solanas. I have not before this, and the only references I've seen to her beyond this were on the Venture Brothers, basically. So
yeah, I think this is a great, I don't know, there was something about it that I was like, this is such a good example of, like, where, like, individualism and radfem sort of, like, shit is like, it's not going to, you're not going to get anywhere with it. Like, singling yourself out from other women for, like, not doing it right, like, but also being like women are superior, like this thing where, like, you're just, it's never going to be enough, is it? It's never going to be fucking enough. Like, it was just a super interesting, like, the pipeline of hating men to, like, turfism was really interesting. And I think it's I think it was, like, because I don't think that they practice, I mean, yes, they show transphobia, but they show transphobia, I think, in a very good way of you seeing, like, Candy does nothing to deserve being shit on by Valerie, and Valerie will shit on her. You know what I mean?
Also, they coexist. They're like friends.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not.
But what I'm saying is, like, it's not something where you're gonna
hate criming her,
right?
For being trans.
But that's what I'm saying is, like, yes, Valerie is, turfy towards Candy. Yeah. But you're not seeing, like, violence. You're not seeing, like a lot of, like, really awful things. You're just seeing sort of the subtle ways that turfiness can, like, take over your vocabulary or shift your, kind of the gross sort of seedy ways it soaks in to, like, man hating. Like, when you hate men, you're like, oh, it's that thing of, like, any sort of, like, fundamentalist idea is going to be, like, it's going to start out as, like, oh, I hate men. And then it's going to be like, okay, well, I hate anyone who has a penis. Okay, well, I hate anyone that isn't like me. I hate any. I don't
right.
because at the end it ends with her literally saying like, "There's no reason for the human race to continue."
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like you go from like it's just such. So I think it's a really interesting look at like being a TERF, becoming a TERF, like what might cause you to go in that direction without it being something where you're like a trans woman could possibly watch this and not feel like she's being like attacked through whole entire film.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like something where like you can see it without also being constantly triggered and feel like so dehumanized while watching it. So I think it's a really interesting, I think especially for it being made in 1996, it does like a great job of like, not being just like a continual hate crime and not showing, while talking about, it's a very complex sort of, she's a survival sex worker. Right. Valerie's a survival sex worker, and, showing sort of like the world of sort of, her need for men because of that versus her hatred of men and her befriending trans women and also not thinking that they deserve the same rights as her, like all of these things. And I think it's a really, really interesting representation, or I don't know. It just does. There's so much to it. I was like, really, I didn't take any notes. The notes I took say, reference the part where at the beginning where she's giving her statement and they ask her a question. Yeah. And she says, and they tell her, you have to say yes or no.
Right.
And I was like 100% because when I was testifying in court, they're like, I said, yeah. And they were like, you have to say yes or no. You cannot, you can't just say, you can't just give an affirmative. You have to say clearly yes or no. Like you cannot, because someone's writing it. I don't know. Like, I don't know why does not count, but it does not. Right. You have to say yes or no. So that's always like a throw, it throws you a little bit. And then I wrote down Martha Plimpton. That's it. Those are the two notes that I made.
Honorable mention to Justin Theroux.
Yep. Your boo.
Stop it.
I'm sorry.
It's not funny anymore.
I don't say it because it's funny. I say it because I think it's true.
It's not. As I've already confessed, he's only hot in Charlie's Angels 2, where he's a Nazi skinhead.
Nazi skinhead. Irish.
Irish, that's right. And not actually a skinhead, but...
When he's like, give me the rings.
Give us the rings.
The rings. The way he says it.
Yeah.
Give us the rings.
The rings.
Throws an axe at her or whatever happens.
Right.
Anyway, I really got to pee.
Okay.
But yeah, if you can get... I had a hell of a time getting a hold of this.
Oh my God, yeah.
In fact, the DVD we watched is from Korea.
Yeah, there was like...
I don't know why. I don't know what the story is with that.
Yeah, it was really hard to get a hold of. Yeah.
I don't think it's streaming anywhere. I don't know. We didn't check recently because I got the DVD
but I doubt
2 years ago, but...
Yeah, I doubt it's streaming, but it was really difficult to get a hold of it. It was really difficult to...
Great transfer, though. It looked good.
Oh, yeah, it looked... I actually forgot that it was a DVD.
The guy who they asked to take his pants off is... I was proud that I recognized him from Trust.
Trust, yeah.
And he's also in High Art, which is another one I want to watch.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever actually seen...
I remember being very angry at it. It's also a queer movie, so...
Yeah, it is, yeah. Isn't that Ali Sheedy? That's what brought Ali Sheedy back? I have a soft spot in my heart for her because I remember her losing her shit about that, and she won some award, and she was like, I didn't think I was ever gonna get. She's like, I don't think this was ever gonna happen, and I'm never gonna get the chance to do it again. So you guys are gonna have to sit here for however long I'm up here. She's like, oh my God, yeah. Anyway, yeah. Just yeah.
Happy birthday to me.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Christ, creeping Jesus, man-made, not to please us. God, why our Father? God damn, if it's not her, it's a man's world. And can't you see them tighten their hold on you and they're no good? All they want to do is to get it from you. It's a man's trap you with nothing they can give you. It's a man's world. I feel that pride when they offer a job to you, and the chances that the pay you get will be less than this till they say
This turd is yellow.